Hello, my name is Dean Cotto, and I'm board chair of New Horizons. In the 7 years since I've served on the board, there have been a lot of changes and improvements in how we serve our youth and young adults. One example is facilitating transitions to stable housing. And despite the challenges of COVID this year, we have been able to place 68 youth in housing to date. I'm excited to be here with you today to kick off our campaign for Housed in 100 Days. And although I wish we could be here in person, I am glad that you're able to join us for this virtual event. I'd like to start by thanking PNTA for their support of this event. I also want to thank the Ross family for a very generous matching donation. Any contributions that are made until midnight tonight will be matched dollar for dollar up to $50,000. In addition to this match, all contributions that are made to our Housed in 100 Days campaign will be entered into a drawing for 2 tickets to the Seattle Kraken versus San Jose Sharks. Go Kraken! Will you please join me in prayer? Heavenly Father, we thank you for all that you provide us. We thank you for being amongst us and ask that you be with our event tonight, Housed in 100 Days. We ask as well, Lord, that you be with all of the youth and young adults that we serve. In your name, amen. Thank you again for joining us this evening. And now I'd like to introduce Rob Stewart, Executive Director of New Horizons.
I want to welcome everyone this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I wish we could be together in person, but this virtual event is something that we are really honored that you came and are attending. And one of the benefits of having a virtual event is that my daughter actually now thinks I'm on TV, which I think is a fantastic thing. I've bought a lot of credibility with her, and so I'm excited about that. This last year has been such an amazing year, and I've become more convinced than I ever was 4 years ago when I started this job here at New Horizons, that New Horizons is much more than an organization. It is a community. It is a community of people that gather around a central conviction that we must do better by the most vulnerable young people in our community. And a group that is gathered around that conviction is so fierce and so powerful and can do so many amazing things. This year has been filled with countless changes in our community, in our own lives, and in ourselves. Many of us still feel the impact of those changes in our lives. But I will say, because I've observed it over the last 2 years, that when our communities are shaken, when our moorings loosen, the most vulnerable among us are hit the hardest. The young people that made their way to New Horizons this year did so with increased levels of trauma, with increased need, mental health and behavioral health needs that we've never seen before. Young people came with a greater uncertainty of what their future held. It was a challenging time. But I will say that as New Horizons has done for 43 years, New Horizons created a safe place for youth to come inside, to be met, to be honored, to be recognized, and ultimately led and walking with them towards stability. And so I feel incredibly honored. We lived with our young people in ways that I have so much pride in. Our staff showed up in ways with so much integrity. This year was anything but business as usual. But in that way, for us, it was such a gift. It forced us to rethink what it is that we are all about, to dream bigger, to ask different questions, to expand on the way that we would dream and think about the future. And in that way, it was such a gift. We decided that we wanted to launch into a strategic plan and not just do any normal strategic plan, but we wanted to press ourselves because we were tired of just managing homelessness. We really wanted to figure out what it would look like to make a significant impact on the whole landscape of youth homelessness here in Seattle. And so we stand sort of on the cusp, on the tail end of the strategic plan with our most audacious goal yet, believing that we can help 70% of every young person that comes to New Horizons to find stable housing, and 50% of those young people to do so within 100 days. We are so incredibly honored and grateful to be working with the young people that we work with. We are a tired group, but I will tell you, we are ready. We are ready in ways that I've never seen this organization before. I am so proud of where we are, and so much of that is owed to the staff. Our staff is resilient and powerful. They are passionate, they are compassionate, they are thoughtful, the most thoughtful group that I've ever worked with. And I would be remiss if we had this whole evening and you didn't hear from one of our most dedicated and powerful staff. And so I'm gonna let you hear from Alicia Raymond, our Director of Day Programming.
Hi, my name is Alicia Raymond, and I'm the Director of Day Programming and Youth Engagement at New Horizons. Through our day programming, we strive to foster a safe and stable environment for our young folks to come get their needs met, such as rest, food, and hygiene, and to participate in engaging activities with staff and their peers to rebuild healthy relationships. Youth homelessness is most frequently caused by trauma, whether it's generational poverty, abuse in the home, or being exited out of foster care, and being introduced to the streets is in itself re-traumatizing. So in efforts to work with our young folks and mitigate some of that trauma, we strive to foster a safe environment through trauma-informed care and repair healthy, secure attachments. The uncertainty, loneliness, and unsafety of living on the streets is more pronounced than ever in our community. Creating safe and welcoming spaces and building ethical, supportive relationships is what we strive to do, and that can mitigate the long-term impacts of homelessness. There's almost nothing more important than reducing the time that someone experiences homelessness. Trauma is prolonged exposure to traumatic events, situations, and people. The only way to truly heal from trauma is to have space away from those traumatic events and find safety and stability. We have a unique position in our community. Many young folks come to us as a result of failed systems, whether it's foster care, behavioral health systems, or the juvenile justice system, and we intentionally live at that intersection. And New Horizons recognizes we have an opportunity to walk alongside the most vulnerable of young folks and support them to stability as quickly as we can. This is the genesis of Housed in 100 Days. We have an opportunity to ensure that 70% of young people at New Horizons become housed, and 50% of those will do so in 100 days. This is more than an audacious goal. This would mean that 300 young people would find stable housing every year. This would change our community, and this would require a lot. It would require us building new programming, a new commitment to continuity of care, and truly believing that housing is a human right. A common pitfall that folks might experience at social service agencies is a lack of continuity of care. You might need to ask one person for housing support, then go somewhere else for employment support. And having to repeat yourself and ask for help so many times can be hugely frustrating, and it might lead to a lack of faith in the process. So at New Horizons, we have a goal that a young person should only have to ask for help once. Then the responsibility is on us as staff to hear that person, work together as a team to build off each other's progress and help that young person reach their goals. An anecdote that comes to mind is about a young woman named Nina. She and I were sitting together in day program at the art table. I find painting together is a nice way to build engagement and rapport. And Nina shared with me that she needed a job, but she had some barriers, including not having an ID. So I took out my laptop and was able to order her an ID right then and there. Then I did a warm handoff to our employment coordinator. I was able to refer her to several places that were hiring right then. Now it was thanks to her own ambition, not ours, but she was able to get a job that very next day. And then the following day, we did another warm handoff to case management. They were able to do a housing assessment and an application to an external fill. And Nina was able to move into transitional housing just about a week later. And she's still there to this day.
Every day, I am honored and amazed by the staff that I get to work with. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on this stage and in this platform, but I am telling you with deep, deep integrity, our staff is the best I've seen. They care in ways that I have just never seen. Repeatedly throughout this year, they showed up in ways that will be forever etched in my mind as some of the most compassionate things I've ever seen. I'll never forget images of staff literally holding sick young people during a global pandemic. I'll never forget standing outside with staff for hours and hours and hours with COVID-positive young people, just hoping and praying that we could get them into quarantine. I'll not forget my nights in shelter, sitting alongside staff in a crowded shelter and recognizing just the irony that the whole community had been told not to gather, but we were here with young people, and the most vulnerable young people at that. And staff did it with integrity and care and in ways that ultimately have helped support and honor the young people that we work with. I want to give you an opportunity to hear from probably our biggest asset, our young people. I want you to hear a story of Dakota, who is someone who has made such an impact on New Horizons. I would love for you to just be able to hear their story, hear his unbelievable journey, and just how resilient Dakota is.
Dakota, it's good to be here with you on this Thursday, and I'm really, really grateful to be able to sit down and chat with you. I would love to know and for you to share just a little bit about your story.
So I grew up in Texas originally, but bouncing around, moving around a lot. And I landed in Washington when I was about 12 years old. I had my parents divorced. I had a little stint in family/foster care, and dealt with different systemic abuse. When I was 17, I ended up in the hospital for the first time for mental health reasons, and ended up in and out until I got into a residential psychiatric treatment when I was 17. And then I ended up in and out of rehabs throughout the time, which was very, very hard. Detoxing was hard, and then trying to deal with all of the undealt with trauma throughout all of that was always very, very hard.
How did you end up eventually getting to New Horizons in the first place?
So my treatment team over at my rehab in Kentucky reached out to New Horizons, and you guys partnered together to get me a spot in the Nest, which was a guaranteed bed every night in your guys' transitional program. And you and my rehab paid for my plane ticket from Kentucky out here.
I remember when you came. It was right around like the first month or so that I had started as an executive director, and I remember you came. I'm not sure what color hair you had at that point. You've had about the rainbow of hairs as long as I've known you. But can you tell me what that experience of being in shelter for that first night was like?
So my first night was a little bit more chaotic than it normally is. I happened to come in on a karaoke night, which meant there was a lot more going on than normally was. My case manager ended up staying late so that they could meet me, as well as the director of the Nest stayed late as well. And throughout all that, they helped me, introduce me to some of the youth, some of the other staff. I got comfortable, relaxed a little bit. And eventually it was cool. It was home for me for a little bit.
And how long overall were you in shelter?
I was in the shelter 3 separate times over the course of about 3.5 to 4 years, totaling about 2.5 years that I spent in the shelters.
And you've been involved with so many things at New Horizons, much more than just shelter. What other programs have you been involved with?
I've been involved with day program, employment services, case management services, funding options, and different clubs. Triangle Club is one of my favorites. It's our LGBT support group, as I am an openly trans guy. And this was a major outlet for me.
I remember you actually helped start the Triangle Club. You were a huge part of getting that going, and that's been a huge gift to us and other young people at New Horizons, so thank you for that. I have seen you and known you in lots of different ways over those courses of those 2.5 years, and I remember specifically one morning I came in and something pretty scary had happened, and I don't know if you're willing to share that with us.
Yeah, I am. So I struggle with bipolar depression as well as several other mental health disorders. And at this time, I had been back in the shelter for about 7 months, and I had given up. And the previous night, I had overdosed on my medication and not told anybody. So in the morning, shelter staff were unable to wake me up. And it took me a long time to, actually tell staff, hey, this is what happened, not what you guys think happened.
Yeah, I remember being really scared that morning for you and worried about you because you've been such a huge part of my whole time at New Horizons, and I care about you, and I know a lot of staff care about you, but you have really worked hard from that moment, and you have done some amazing things, both for yourself and with your housing. You've done so much work. How did we get from that moment, that one morning in shelter, to where you are today?
Shortly after that, I want to say it was like that same week, I got told that I got accepted into a permanent supportive housing program, which is the ultimate housing goal. It is no age restriction after the first year, no income limit. Rules are a lot less strict. It's 30% of your income is your rent, and if you can't make your rent, they work with you. But I knew once I was told that I got into that program that things were finally going to be okay again. And I am now 8 months sober.
That is incredible.
And my sobriety is something that I struggled with for a very long time. But one day I almost lost my life from my addiction. I was mixing amphetamines and alcohol, and it almost killed me. It put me in the ICU for 7 days and then a step-down unit for another 7 days. And I was told by my team that if I continue doing this, it will kill me. It will ultimately cause my heart to give out. And I have not picked up drugs since then. I have numerous supports that have helped me throughout that, New Horizons being a big part of them, along with other organizations, therapy. I have a service dog in training. His name is Zeus.
Who happens to be awesome.
He is definitely awesome. So I have support everywhere in my life that I need it.
When you see yourself in your mind in like 4 years, where do you want to be?
I would like to be back in school, working on my bachelor's of social work so that I can be a case manager or an advocate for other homeless youth.
Yeah, I remember we had talked just the other day about how you're filling out your FAFSA and getting ready to go back to school, and I'm so proud of you for that. And you would be an amazing case manager. You bring so much to the table. Your empathy, your thoughtfulness, your experience, you would be a gift. I also just want to say what a gift you have been to New Horizons. You have been a consistent thread in my time, and I just feel like you've made a really clear, indelible impact on us.
Thank you for that. A lot of the staff are like, I can't imagine New Horizons without Dakota around here.
We care about you a lot, and thanks for sharing your story. And it has been just an enormous feat of resilience, and I'm just really proud of you.
Thank you.
I just want to thank Dakota for being willing to sit down with me a few weeks ago to have that conversation. Dakota is one of many young people who constantly amaze me with just how resilient they are, how powerful they are, how thoughtful they are. I'm constantly reminded that the young people that we work with, they're not liabilities. They're some of our community's biggest assets. And we just want to center that, and I'm just so grateful for Dakota. There's a world-renowned ethicist who studies really how people engage in acts of generosity throughout the world. And he's looking for patterns or consistent barriers that exist for people's engagement in the things that they would want to do to change the world. And through broad-reaching studies and many studies over different continents and in different places, he determines that people are really generous, that people are extremely compassionate, but that they are oftentimes paralyzed by two things: distance from a cause, and that causes complexity. He says that people are normally generous. They know exactly what it is that they would want to do. They feel that their heartstrings are pulled around the right kinds of things, and yet oftentimes when they are just a little bit removed from something, or it is slightly complex, it paralyzes them from doing things. You know, there's no doubt that homelessness has become endlessly complex within our community. There's no doubt. You don't have to drive far to see that it is on our streets in ways that it has never been. You drive down the street and you see it, and it's painful, and it is messy, and it is political. It is so political at this point. But one of the benefits or the opportunities that my position offers is this sort of unusual proximity to homelessness. It offers me this opportunity to not be far, but to be close. And for me, over years of doing this work, homelessness is not political, it is just incredibly personal. I mean, my understanding of homelessness and my understanding of what drives homelessness is populated with images of people that I know. I mean, daily, homelessness literally comes into my office and talks to me. Homelessness tells me their story. Homelessness is people like Dakota. For me, when I think of homelessness, I think of people who are so incredibly passionate and so incredibly resilient, who have faced just this enormous, enormous amount of struggles and obstacles. So for me, homelessness is not political. It's not all that complex, because every day we are in the work and we know what works. And it's not rocket science. We know it. We know that relationships are just fundamentally transformative to people who don't have consistent and strong relationships. We know that everyone should actually have access to mental health care and behavioral health care that they actually need. We know that every person should actually have a meaningful pathway to employment. We know that housing should just fundamentally be a human right. We know these things, and I will tell you, after having done this work for so many years, New Horizons is great at helping people get those things. We are just great at it. I think we're the best in the community at doing that. And so for me, personal homelessness is absolutely personal. And there's ways to solve this. And I know it's crazy for us to say that we are a small organization, we can literally change the landscape of homelessness, but I am telling you, I fundamentally believe that we can actually do that. I believe that if 70% of every young person that came to New Horizons secured housing, we would change the landscape of youth and young adult homelessness. That is just a fact. This is hundreds and hundreds of young people who are living on the streets, who would then be living in stable housing, with access to the things that they need. You know, for me, I look at the numbers of how many people, how many young adults are actually experiencing homelessness in this community, and the number is 1,500. And I'm constantly amazed. I think it's only 1,500. It's not 10 million. It's not the entire population. This is 1,500 people. And if organizations like ours and other organizations around just stepped up and did more and got really clear that we're not going to be managing homelessness, but we want to be a part of ending it, I really do fundamentally believe that we can. I really, really do. And so I invite you, like I invite lots and lots of people that I talk to about this, to just come close. I invite you to come close, to hear the stories, to learn about the young people that we work with, because I think you'll find that they are not liabilities. They are our community's most essential assets, and their health is tied up in our health. The wellness of our community is tied up in their wellness. So I invite you to come incredibly close. I invite you to look and stare at the paradox and the complexity right in the face and understand that, yes, this is messy, but this is endlessly important and incredibly powerful work. And I just would love for our community to continue to step in powerful ways and increased ways into being the generous and compassionate people that I know that you already are. And so tonight there are opportunities to give. And I encourage you unabashedly, this is an essential cause, and we absolutely can do this together. And we need you. We need you to think about what is your best gift, and I just challenge you, give it. Give it. I don't know who is listening. I don't know who is there. I don't know who will come across these links, but I challenge you to give your best gift because this work matters, and I think we can leverage it in a way that will change and support the most vulnerable among us. I'm going to invite Bree, our development director, to give a little bit of directions on just how you can do that right now in this moment tonight.
Hello. I'm Bree Voigt. I'm the Director of Development at New Horizons. If you are on a laptop right now, I encourage you to make a gift. There's buttons on the side. Hopefully I'm pointing to the right side. On mobile, you can text 100 days to 44321, and you'll get the donation page there. Another benefit, all donors who give by midnight tonight will be entered to win 2 seventh-row Kraken tickets versus the San Jose Sharks on January 20th. We would like to start by thanking several families who are giving right now, the Van Duzer family.
I'd like to thank the Ross family specifically for their match. It has been such a gift to us. And Tom and Linda Grau, you have been a part of New Horizons for so many years.
We want to thank the Beardsley family. Thank you so much. And the Biella Foundation for your donation.
I want to thank Rebecca and Joel Barton and Bob and Can Windle.
Laura Lee Young, thank you so much. And Carolyn Iblings, thank you.
I want to thank Julia Sessenbrenner and Yoon and Gretchen Kim, who are actually my cousins.
Robin Brownstein, thank you so much. Susan Chatlow-Susor and Tom Susor, thank you, thank you.
And I just want to thank our board, who does a lot of work behind the scenes that people never see. So thank you to all the board members. And I want to thank you, Dakota. As I said earlier, you are such a gift to this organization, and you inspire me all the time. And I'm sure I will see you around very shortly.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, and please give this evening. That would be such a benefit to us.